WWE ECW episode 13 from 9/5 of 2006 is the embodiment or the representation of what really bothers me about Vince McMahon's version of Extreme Championship Wrestling. And after the ad read and after the open rolls, I will break down these examples, this indication as to why, as everybody from the original ECW has stated, whether it be Rob Van Dam, Tommy Dreamer, Paul Heyman, all these people, they said it was doomed from the start. And so, this one almost made me quit watching the show and just put on something actually from sci-fi, whether it be Star Trek or whatever.
Whether it's your first time here or you're a regular here at Mr. Super Oz, I just want to thank you for tuning in to the channel. It exists because I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. Volume 1 is called All Day Long. If you follow the link in the description of this video, you can get yourself hats, shirts, posters, all kinds of fun things. But most importantly, you can get the story itself. And the more people that pick up the story, the greater the chances are that there can be continued adventures with these heroes. If you could, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment, enjoy.
The episode begins telling us, or refreshing the audience's memory about 2 weeks ago at SummerSlam, and promoting how that D-Generation X will be at ECW for the first time ever. Well, I wonder why it's their first time ever at ECW. It's because Shawn Michaels and Paul Levesque, or Triple H, the game, they don't feel like ECW wrestlers. And Triple H, while he gets major love now, at the time, and a little in this time period of 2006, he couldn't help himself but to make a bingo hall joke that wasn't even funny when he and Shawn entered this arena, which is not even a bingo hall because ECW wasn't even allowed to try to get its own audience to the events. It was taped before, it was recorded before they did SmackDown tapings. So the joke, which isn't funny and not even worth anything, is also not accurate because it's not a bingo hall. So that's already gives me a bad taste. So this whole thing is just to promote a Raw pay-per-view, Unforgiven, where Big Show and the McMahons are going to have a handicap match against DX. And so we have the handicap match main event of DX versus the Big Show tonight in this show. The show opens with an Extreme Rules tag team match pitting Sabu and Rob Van Dam against Mike Awesome. Mike Awesome. I wish it was Mike Awesome. Mike Knox and Test. But the problem is, the match begins as if they don't realize it's an Extreme Rules match. Both teams start one man in the ring and another guy in the corner, and it's just confusion. Eventually, after some time passes, I feel like somebody got in the referee's ear and said, you guys know you can do whatever you want, right? So, Sabu gets a chair and sets up a table and does some things, but it's just, I don't know. It's not good. Test kicks out of Sabu's triple jump moonsault, which, I didn't see coming as far as things go. And Mike Knox ends up on a table, and RVD and Sabu win, which is good for the ECW originals. But the problem is, again, the match is badly constructed, and like I said, almost as if they don't even know how the match is supposed to play out. Kevin Thorne and Ariel get a tarot card reading promo segment, and then Matt Striker makes his way out to the ring. Matt wants to go over what happened last week with him having more brains than Sandman had brawn, and it's fine, but again, this is no, to me, it's not much different than recapping SummerSlam. It's like, how much lack of intelligence do you have for your, or how unintelligent does Vince believe the viewing audience is, that they need to be reminded of what happened last week and then the week before that? Can't we just move the story forward? Matt Striker runs away from the Sandman. It's a nothing segment. Surprise, surprise, the main event is now being promoted as an Extreme Rules match. Which, why would a handicap match not be no rules? It wouldn't make any sense for Shawn and Triple H to tag in and out. Like, okay, we're on ECW. Of course it ought to be anything goes. So, cameo from Sledgy and all that. Ariel and Kevin Thorne come out, and Joey Styles gets mounted by Ariel at the announce desk before she and Kevin have a seat to watch an ECW original versus ECW original match where Stevie Richards takes on Balls Mahoney. But again, not much different than my complaint about the ECW originals winning in the the opening match that was ill-conceived and badly constructed. My issue when they do the ECW original versus ECW original match on ECW WWE version is that it almost always feels as if they think, oh, here's your little something, because these people do not matter. Oh, I am from Greenwich, Connecticut, or whatever. Like, Vince just drives me nuts with this. And so, shock of all shocks, Stevie Richards wins, but only because Ariel distracts the referee and Kevin Thorne hits Balls Mahoney with his walking cane that he uses. And it's like, so even when you have ECW original versus ECW original, it's only ECW new breed character that matters within the context of the story. And that's my issue with the way that this show is constructed, because while I'm not saying Balls Mahoney should be treated as a main eventer or Steven Richards is the tip-top guy, what I'm saying is that, and this is actually one thing I plan on using in the Alpha Entertainment Worldwide ECW revival, and it's not that you absolutely have to, which I do plan to, push the ECW originals as the end all be all. I mean, I do plan on treating them with respect, because Just Incredible is a former world champion, Sandman is a former world champion, Sabu is a former world champion, Rob Van Dam becomes world champion. I think there's one more world champion that is with the company to begin with, but the point is, yes, I do plan on treating the originals respectfully because they are the past, but what I more importantly plan on doing is taking the archetype of who was the heart and soul, the lifeblood of ECW, and trying to find people that fit into the mold of those archetypes. So whether it be the franchise Shane Douglas, finding a person to consider themselves the franchise of the new modern ECW, that's important. A innovator like a Rob Van Dam. Now, granted, we have him for quite some time throughout, but finding the new innovator, the new whole show, the man who can be the cornerstone of things. These are very important. And also, in the case of Sandman, the everyman, right? Because he's the blue-collar worker on the on the job, having him a cold one type thing. So taking the archetype of what made ECW work, the wrestling machine, also like Taz, you know, finding people who fit within the archetype, and then introducing new, instead of having the vampire or the man from the Serengeti or whatever, the MMA guys with Pope and Sylvester Terkay. It just, to me, or the school teacher, my goodness, like the school teacher Matt Stryker feels like it's an actual dig on what they did with Shane Douglas when he was in WWF as Dean Douglas. So that's, to me, the better way to do a revived ECW. If you can't get the cult leader Raven, then you keep the show around long enough to get the cult leader and Bray Wyatt type thing. But yeah, up next is DX versus The Big Show. Oh yay, just what I couldn't wait for. But before that, we get Shannon Moore, who says that he is the Prince of Punk and he is bringing sexy back. Oh yeah, that's top-notch work. I'm sorry that they're doing this to you, Shannon. I know that you actually are better than this. They have CM Punk interrupt and call him a poser before he slaps Shannon Moore, which I just find to be sad, both for Punk's feud, a Punk feud, and speaking of Punk, my goodness, he definitely does fit that 2006 everyman type character, or a segment of there. So like that, it totally makes it make sense as to why that he is fully embraced by the established audience, because they see him as one of their own. But this feud, this thing with Shannon, this and also the disrespect, or the way that they treat him so passively, as if Shannon Moore is nothing. Ugh, always bothered me. Big Show once again gets the non-champion entrance, and then Paul Heyman comes out and with his personal forces and says, "Oh, it's not going to be an Extreme Rules match. Which just basically guarantees you that there's going to be a DQ finish, because they just love doing that." And so DX fight the Big Show, and you know, Triple H does use his sledgehammer, but also Hardcore Holly, Paul Heyman's enforces, all these things happen, but the whole episode is just it's very much a fail when it comes to Extreme Championship Wrestling. So I give it a 1 out of 5 stars. It made me want to stop watching the show. We'll see how this video gets on views and whether I continue to watch this or not, because the frustration of how it goes is hard to deal with. And I try not to be a channel that is dwelling on the bad, because you can find bad all over the place. I actually started rewatching WWE ECW in preparation for planning, thinking, trying to get the ideas of the Alpha Entertainment Worldwide ECW. And that's why that when I think about who can make themselves the franchise of the show, I think that Montel Vontavious Porter, MVP, is a great shout. When I think of a flashy wrestler who might not be the best promo, but can do some spectacular work, is Shelton Benjamin, taking over that role of Rob Van Dam at some point. Almost like how Jerry Lynn was the new show, as opposed to RVD being the whole show. But, yeah, anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Don't watch this episode of WWE ECW, and probably just don't watch WWE ECW pretty much at all. But, see, that's the thing, is it had so much promise, it had so much potential, it had, if you just treat it as the alternative instead of the copy-paste from Raw and SmackDown, that's what makes me so mad, because while I never plan on doing December to Dismember, my plan is to return ECW known pay-per-views, such as November to Remember, Heat Wave, and so those are the two constants. In late July, early August, Heat Wave, November to Remember, and then every other pay-per-view within the existence of the Alpha Entertainment Worldwide, ECW, will be a returning title. So it begins with One Night Stand, obviously, because that's how you do it, but you never return to One Night Stand because it's no longer a one night stand if you do One Night Stand all the time. So it begins with One Night Stand, you do all the names in between, and then you end, when you end the company, the return of ECW, you end with One Last Stand, because that feels right to me. But again, thanks for watching. Sorry I'm so frustrated with this thing, but hope you enjoyed. See you next week.